Well, I said Mississippi State had to prove it on the ground against one of the toughest run defenses around. Did they live up to it? You're going to want to hear this.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. All right, my name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got another Victory Monday to talk about today. We're going to break down the defenses. It kind of struggled early in that game, but started to really find its groove in the second quarter and forward. We'll also give our top dog of the week. That's something we do every single Monday. Basically, it's a player of the game honor. But first, let's get into the offense. Mississippi State really kind of struggled in the first half, only had 14 points. The passing game just never seemed to really click. Had some big plays in the third quarter, obviously, but they missed a lot of big ones. I thought the big play was there for much of the game, and they didn't hit it. So let's start with the negatives. So I'd rather do most of this segment about the positives. So let's just get the negatives out of the way. That would be the negatives to me. Just they weren't able to hit the big play as we've seen them able to. So that's why I'm not concerned about it. They just looked like a team that just really wasn't ready to play early in that game, and that was one of our fears. But again, like they did against Southern Miss, they turned it on in the second half.
Yeah, there was, I think, 3 or 4 deep shots in that first half that Shapen was just a little off on.
Yeah.
He overthrew, I think over the course of the game, he overthrew Mosley, who running wide open, I think twice, and Evans once, and Thompson once. And overthrowing Evans and Thompson means you really overthrew it if those two guys find a way to run under it. Eventually, they did hit a couple of them, but it was weird. Watching Shapen, this was a weird one for me. Because, yes, he missed on deep throws, but when you're throwing 40-yard bombs, missing a couple of them, to me, that's not too concerning because that's just a hard throw to hit consistently. But he looked very good underneath, and I was like, oh, Shapen's having a pretty good game. And then I saw the stats, toward the end when they were just running the ball. He came out, and I was like, he didn't have a good game. He looked in control of the offense and just missed a few throws.
Yeah, I would agree with that. His QBR was solid at a 72, but he was 12 of 20, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. He really should have had over 200 yards passing if he would have just connected on some of those deep balls, and it would have been maybe even a 250 yards just because of that. But yeah, he just didn't have his deep ball going, which again, that's something that we've talked about so far this year. He's actually thrown the deep ball really well this year, and so that's why I'm not really concerned about it. If this had started becoming a pattern that he was missing these deep balls, if it becomes a pattern moving forward, then that's obviously something you're concerned about. But sometimes you get into those games and you don't respect the opponent and you just start, misfiring. Also, I want to shout out the fans real quick because it was blazing hot in Starkville. And you can even, it's hot when you can tell on TV that it's hot. And on TV, you could tell how hot it was. Anytime they showed a close-up of the fans, you could tell how hot it was. And so shout out to you guys for bearing that. But and having to bear that while also bearing the first half and how big of a struggle it was. But I want to get into the positives because coming into the game, I called out the run game. And I said, this is, in my opinion, and Landon and I both agree on this, we have thought the run game and the running backs specifically are the best unit on the football team. And they really hadn't been able to get them going. But they had success against Alcorn State. They had success in the second half against Southern Miss. Arizona State, they kind of struggled. And so going against Northern Illinois, again, not a great opponent, but they're number 13 in rush defense in the country. So they're not a bad run defense. Right. And they've been a pretty good defense the last few years. But I wanted to challenge them to have success running the football. And boy, did they. 292 yards rushing, 6 yards a carry, and 4 touchdowns is having some success.
I wonder if Levy would have liked to run one more play to cross that 300-yard mark to have that. But no, they looked good. There were a couple of times where I mean, NIU, very good run defense. They still made a handful of plays that, a couple negative, no gain type of runs, but they couldn't keep this running game check. Fluff, he didn't get in the end zone, but crossed that 100-yard mark, 17 carries.
Yeah,
He
Fluff looked like the guy you brought in from the portal. He looked really good.
He's a monster back there. I am, not to try to go negative here, but I'm wondering what's going on with Booth. Only 7 carries. And a lot of those were very early. It looked like it was a conscious effort to try to get him going early. I think like 3 of the first 4 rushes were him.
Yeah.
And only 4 carries the rest of the game. It was kind of weird. He had a solid game, 2 touchdowns, but
he was the only one under 4.5 yards per carry, and he was at 3.1. So he was way under 4.5 yards.
Yeah. And there were a couple times later in the game they brought in Guyton. And he looked very Gayton, excuse me. He looked really good. Yeah. But it was kind of the places where you would assume Booth would come in. So I wonder if maybe he's maybe like a nagging injury that's not keeping him out, but maybe they're kind of monitoring in these games. I wonder if that's playing into it. But overall, running game looked great.
Yeah, and we saw Seth Davis again. 3 carries, 16 yards for him. I will say also there was a couple runs. I at least remember 2 runs that Booth was the lead blocker on the touchdown, and so he was making his play heard by the way by doing some things outside of running the football. But yeah, I wonder if it's just kind of managing him, knowing he's going to get a lot more, him and Fluff. What you have with Booth, but he's going to get a lot more touches in the SEC play, which starts, obviously this week. And Fluff, on the other hand, is a guy that you needed to get going because he really hasn't done a whole lot yet to this point. And so he got the bulk of the carries, 17 carries, 101 yards. He really had a good game. He had a couple where he just blasted guys, ran right over them. For big gains. No, he showed the power. He showed the strength, the speed. He even showed the speed a little bit too. And so overall, I thought the offense was solid. 452 yards of total offense is nothing to be upset about. They were 4 for 4 on 4th down, which was awesome because they were 5 of 13 on 3rd down, which isn't great. But if you put those together, that's 9 of 17, which is over 50%. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that situation against a team you should be significantly better than, but picking him up each time, it looked really good. And Fluff, you can tell he thrives off of those first couple hits that he runs through, and then it just kind of fuels him. Only other concerning thing, 2 sacks. We talked about how NIU didn't have much in terms of juice in the pass rush. And he gave up 2 sacks to him. Again, it's 2. If it was over 5, that's when but you want to dominate the line of scrimmage completely. I know one of them was just bad. One of them
was a blitz that Shapen didn't see coming. Yeah. It was almost like a delayed blitz, and they were bringing 6, and I believe we had 5, or they brought 7 and we had 6. Yeah. I can't remember. They brought an extra guy, which
low developing pass.
Yeah, and that was something that when that happens, it's the quarterback's job to pick up that guy, and so. But yeah, I can't remember which one the other one was, but. Yeah, no, you don't want to get sacked at all against Northern Illinois. But overall, I thought the offensive line did play decently well.
Yeah, they played well enough. You would like full dominance, but 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss is not a bad day when you're playing someone who, they kind of made their name on controlling the line of scrimmage. So obviously they're going to have a couple splash plays, but I also like that we saw Levy work in a little bit of the running game with Thompson and Evans, getting those guys on the jet sweep, touch pass kind of plays. When you have guys that fast, you got to start get them the ball in space. And that's a great way to, get the defense flowing side to side one way, come back the other way, set up things in the future.
And that was the first touchdown for Thompson. So overall offense, sluggish start, but really came on strong in the second half. Same can be said for the defense. We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. I'm actually wearing it right now. I try to wear it almost every Monday, and I also do it on our pregame or postgame videos that we do. This is the hat that I would be wearing because these aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code Locked On, it will get your vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com, grab your team's classic, bar, or retro circle design, and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, like I said, the defense was very similar to the offense. It was just a team effort coming out slow. First drive, 10 plays, 63 yards, get a field goal. They had the big run by Telly Johnson for 32 yards. They were just gashing the Mississippi State's defense. And then what punt was that by Mississippi State that went 21 yards and out of bounds, set up Northern Illinois at the 27-yard line, and they completed a 24-yard touchdown pass 2 plays later, 10-7. First play, or that was early in the second quarter, first drive of the second quarter. Things are not looking very good, but they turned it around. They didn't allow a point the rest of the game.
Yeah, that first drive that NIU had, you could tell you know how sometimes you have those drives where you can tell that those are like the 10 to 15 plays that offensive coordinator really scripted out and figured out exactly how he wanted to attack the defense. That's what that first drive looked like to me. I was just watching it, and after about, I think it was about the 6th play, I was like, all right, they're going to get some points here, but after this, they're out of these scripted plays, and they're into the flow of the game, and it's going to change. Because you could just tell that they knew exactly what was next. They had thought a lot about that. And sometimes you just have to weather that storm. There are some play callers that see something, they know exactly how to sequence that first drive to attack you. And they did that. I mean, you hope you can make a play to stop it, but that and then the busted coverage kind of looked a little bust. I don't know if it was a full bust or someone just got caught a little flat-footed on the touchdown pass, but I mean, besides that, they played really well. And even that first drive, they came very close to stopping it multiple times.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing to me was Northern Illinois almost averaged 5 yards a carry, 126 yards rushing, 4.8 yards per carry. The weird thing was Telly Johnson had 6 carries for 46 yards. I mentioned the 32-yarder. That's 7.7 yards per carry, yet he only had 6 carries. I don't know why they went away from him, but it worked out for us.
Yeah.
And then we only had 1 sack. 6 TFLs was pretty good, but we only had the 1 sack, which was a great play by Ray Thomas on that one. But I think it was a solid game. It's just, we came into the game and we talked about it. There was really nothing Northern Illinois did well on offense, and it shouldn't have posed a threat at all. And we talked about that on Friday, and then the first drive, and I'm like, oh boy, this is
very wrong. And then
yeah. It's like, is this looking like one of our upset picks of how wrong we are? Because this is not going well.
It went real bad, but the defense kind of clicked in place. The sacks are concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, that has become a trend. They've had, I think, one a game. I think there was one game they had 2. I don't remember which one, but I think that's where they are. It's pretty much 1 sack a game. That's not where you want to be, especially when you're playing teams. Southern Miss, you should have 3, 4, 5 sacks. Alcorn State, 4 or 5 sacks. This game, 4 or 5 sacks. I mean, you're getting, and it's not because they're not bringing pressure. Like, it would be one thing if it was just 3-man rush, 4-man rush every time. But they're bringing guys on the blitz, and I know there are some things like hurrying the quarterback, getting the pressures, getting the hits do affect them, but you want to see a few more of those turn into sacks.
Yeah, no, for sure. And after you lost, Will Whitson, that's why we said then, we were like, man, y'all don't realize how big of a loss this is, because I even went through the stats. Outside of him, they hadn't generated much pressure or sacks or TFLs and so on and so forth. And he was the bright spot. And so losing him was massive because of that. And that showed up again. And that's my worry about Mississippi State moving forward is because of that, because of I just don't know when it comes to generating pressure and tackles for loss and just negative plays in general. Who's the guy? Like, who's going to step up and be that guy?
I will say in this game, Brandon Jennings was stepping up.
He played well.
Making those plays. He started being the one you heard his name in the backfield a lot. So maybe he's the guy. But in terms of negative plays, the turning point of this game, honestly, is that Isaac Smith interception in the end zone. It was it 17-10 or 14-10 at that, or no, you had just scored again, 21-10. They were about to
21-10, yeah.
They were about to bring it back to, and he picks it off. We went and got more points. Honestly, that felt like that's when the game ended, was when we scored after that interception.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick on the Jennings front, like you look at his numbers and they're not impressive, but Jennings was a guy that was creating havoc back there. He wasn't the one ended up making the play. It would be someone else that made the play, or they'd throw the ball away or whatever. He would cause problems. So he's going to do a lot of stuff that didn't show up in the stat sheet. But as you mentioned with the Isaac Smith play, that was to start the second half. You're going into halftime 14-10. You come out 6 plays, 75 yards, go up 21-10. You hit the 45-yard pass to Mosley. That if it's a little better throw, it's a walk-in touchdown. Instead, you're down at like the 2 or whatever it was. You punch it in. I think it was Booth that ended up running it in. Yeah, Booth ran it in. And then they come back, and Northern Illinois is driving, and it looks like they're going to at least get a field goal try. They're at the 20-yard line, 3rd and 11. They take a shot to the end zone, and I hope people go back and watch this play, because that's all about just reading the quarterback. Because
such a good read.
It was a great read, because what the quarterback is seeing, it was actually the right read in terms of he had the one-on-one, and his guy had beaten him. And Isaac's in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
What the quarterback should have done is probably looked off Isaac to the right and then come back to it. But he didn't. He didn't do that. And because as soon as Isaac saw, okay, he's staring this way, he bolted as fast as he could to the spot and picked it off. And so what could have been a 21-13 or 21-17, they get some momentum back right after you just took some momentum, ends up being an interception and completely took the momentum away. By the way, I heard a great comparison. I was watching the game, and I can't remember the announcer who the play-by-play guy or the analyst was, but he compared Isaac Smith to Jalen Petrie, and I think that is a perfect comparison.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations about Jalen Petrie.
Yeah, Landon and I are big fans of Petrie. We were big fans of him at Baylor, and then obviously he's now with the Texans. He's a very good football player, and Isaac is very similar to him.
I see that. I think Isaac Smith is probably a little bit better in space, like just coverage, knowledge and instincts. Petrie may be a little bit more just that athlete that you put in different places, but very similar type of players. And that type of read that he made is the reason that, I mean, obviously Mississippi State fans know this, that anytime there's a list of best players in the SEC or whatever, and he's not on it, we're like, what is this? Like, this is high level IQ, high level athletic play that he made as a safety, and you move him everywhere. He's not just a middle of the field safety making that. Right. It's a great play by a great player. I mean, he's going to be doing that for the next decade in the NFL.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then you follow that up with getting the field goal. Now it's 24-10. You're feeling a little more comfortable about how the game's going. But all right, we will give our top dog of the week. Don't go anywhere.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love using FanDuel because it gives you different ways to bet on the games, whether it's player props, those same-game parlays, or jumping in in the live action. That's what I love, because you see the game, you want to see how the game's unfolding sometimes before you get in it, or you just see a performance, someone's hot. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to bet over on touchdowns here. He's doing great. Or someone's struggling, go the other way. And that is one of my favorite things about FanDuel. And it's quick, it's easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And this episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together, and when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. You have those kind of local places. Everyone has their favorite spots where you go in, you either know them, they know your order, or if they don't know, they at least recognize you. It's your go-to places. Every community has those. And the best thing about those, you're spending money there. It doesn't just support that business. It's not going to a big corporation. You're helping someone who lives in your community. You're putting that money back into your community and helping, your neighbor. So those local spots are really what, it makes your neighborhood feel like home. And there's so many of those that use Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, who is your top dog of the week?
I'm going with Isaac Smith. Like I mentioned it, to me, that is his interception is the play that changed the game. I don't without that, we could have been going down to the wire. I honestly think, because that play, this NIU comes away with any points there, still a 1-possession game. They still think they're in it. But you shut them down like that, and it was a great play. We broke it down a lot in the last segment. But, he played a great game on top of that. But to me, that was the play that changed the game.
I like that one a lot. For the first time in maybe our podcast history, I went with 2 top dog of the week. And the reason why I did is because the 2 big plays that happened in sync, basically, and then because of this play happened and then this play happened, this is why they deserve the top dog of the week, because this is when I think Mississippi State separated themselves. So first I went with Jordan Mosley because of the 45-yard catch, which is his only catch of the game, but he had the 45-yard catch to start off the second half after being only up 14-10. You're kind of getting uneasy as a fan. This is the worst thing to happen, is if you allow a team to hang around that shouldn't be in the game, and boom, he gets free for a 45-yard catch, which seems like all he does, because in 4 games, he has 4 catches for 139 yards, almost 35 yards a catch, and he has 1 touchdown. So pretty much all he does is catch the big ones. Let's look at his stats real quick for the season, because he had 2 catches for 19 yards in the first game. And then the Alcorn State game, 1 catch for 75 yards, 1 catch for 45 yards against Northern Illinois. So that's what he does. He makes the big play.
Yeah, he does.
And then that followed up right after with the Isaac Smith play with the interception. And so I went with Jordan Mosley and Isaac Smith. You went Isaac Smith. So it's still technically only 2 players in this segment. But I did that because, again, the offense needed some kind of juice. It felt like that big play got them the juice, because then they got a field goal on their next drive. And then defensively, they needed someone to make a play after you seem to have gathered all the momentum. And in fact, after that Jordan Mosley play, they scored on their next 4 drives. They had 5 drives in the second half, technically, but one of them was them running out the clock. So they technically scored on all 4 drives that they're actually scoring on, and it was started by the Mosley touchdown. And then defensively, you had the interception by Smith. You turned them over on downs the next 2 times, and then you force a punt at the end. So it felt like everything changed in that game after the Mosley catch and then right after the pick. And so that's why I had to give it to both of them.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, they'd been missing on those deep balls. And I think it was the next drive after that where they finally hit Evans on the
that was like the 57-yarder or whatever.
And after that, obviously the ground game was already working, but at that point they hit the 2 big plays, and NIU had those safeties, I think, had to take another step back because they're like, well, we can't get burned every time. And that's when you saw the ground game really take over. And hey, we got some Kamario Taylor time.
We did.
He had that one scramble at the end that was just like, people his size are not supposed to move like that. Like every now and then he does something that just reminds you that on a field of freak athletes, he is one of the freakiest.
Which something to watch. He has now played 3 games. So he's got one more game before he burns his red shirt. Let me make sure it says 3 games, but sometimes it doesn't update with the most recent one. Yeah, I was about to say I didn't think he played against Arizona State. So yeah, he's played in 3 games already. So that's something to watch because they have shown they want to use him in short yardage situations. But I would assume they want to redshirt him. I don't know why you would burn that redshirt unless something happened where he had to be thrown in as the starting quarterback. But and on that note, we've talked about you will not hear us talk about a quarterback controversy unless Levy starts hinting at it or something, then we can talk about it. But I feel bad for Shapen because he was struggling in that first half, and I get on Twitter and I'm looking through it, and the amount of fans that are like, "Is it Kamario Taylor time? Is it time to bring in this?" It's like he's 3-0 on the year. He's not getting benched, especially not in this game. If they were to lose against Northern Illinois and then they go on a losing streak, yeah, maybe you have an argument there.
Right.
But a 3-0 start, and he's played well in those 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
The moment he misses a throw, it's immediately, well, is it time for Kamario Taylor? And it's that I think is ridiculous because he's earned to have the benefit of the doubt by the way he's played so far this year. Like, did y'all forget what he did to Arizona State, who actually just beat Baylor on Saturday, which Baylor's a pretty good football team, beat SMU. They're a pretty good football team. Arizona State just beat them to go 3-1, and Blake Shapen beat Arizona State because he played fantastic in that game.
Yeah, I think they should redshirt him, but having Kamario Taylor as a weapon in those 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1 type things, like that's something that
it's hard.
It's something hard to not do it, especially if I honestly think the decision will probably be made like in the Tennessee game. Maybe they need a crucial 4th down late in the game, and it's a 4th and 1. At that point, it might be like, all right, go in.
Yeah. I think you hope Bothwell just becomes that short yardage guy.
But
if it's one of those games that you've tried a couple short yardage things and you just keep getting stuffed, you might need that running back as the extra blocker and go with Kamario Taylor. Or maybe Luke Kromenhoek.
Just the deception of it. Yeah. Just they think you're going to go one way, you pull it and go outside. I mean,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. But having a weapon like that in your back pocket's never a bad thing to have.
Never a bad thing. All right, well, it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. All right, my name is Jaron. Check out my work over on Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.